And welcome back, gentle listeners, to the Pat Flynn Show. We are joined once again by, well, we have to do the same introduction as always, the legendary strength coach, according to Men's Health magazine. Dan John, always a joy, a highlight of my week to sit down and share coffee with you over this podcast
Absolutely.
conversation. So cheers and good
Cheers
morning.
to you. Good morning. Boy, I got to tell you, I don't know how many times we've met, but it's kind of fun that I still think we have a little bit of energy and synergy going on. We're still, I think we're answering good questions and making a difference in people's lives.
I hope so.
I mean, it's nice. I was thinking about our conversations. In fact, I don't, are we a 10-year friendship or 11 or 12 or do you
It,
remember?
it it's got to be creeping up on that because I think when did we meet? It was at that conference in Florida, and
Was it
the
Sean Greeley's or
master and I had that booth, and you came and you took my trashy little pamphlet that I had the audacity to call a book at the time,
yeah?
and we ended up just drinking whiskey together through the whole weekend. But what year was that? I can't.
I had
It's
no
all a
idea.
blur to me.
And
I feel like it was around like 2010 maybe or
yeah,
2011,
and
something like that.
you were shocked that I knew your work so well. I remember that.
Shocked to say the least. Yeah.
You know,
Uh,
I do try to be current. It was easier then than it is now because it seems like the issue I'm having trying to stay current now is that someone will show up and be the hot new thing, the pretty new supermodel of our industry, and then a year later, bye bye, and literally bye bye,
right.
never, and some very famous names that we don't need to, uh, beat their memory to death. Can I talk about two quick things, my young friend?
Yeah, please do. And then I want to actually because you brought up you hope that we're making a difference, and that reminded me we should look at some of the recent reviews people have left because one, I want to thank them for it, but also I think they were just nice. But you do
Oh
your
no, no,
thing
no,
first.
no, no, Pat. Yeah, I like that idea. Let's have you do that. And the only problem is we're hoping that I can remember what I was going to talk about
I can do
minutes
that.
from now.
Yes,
So
yes. Well,
we are
just
just
keep
hoping for the
just
best right
keep
now.
repeating it in your mind for the next
Yes,
minute. So I'll
yes.
just give two quick shout outs because one, we really appreciate when the gentle listener takes the time to go leave a review. I know it seems like a small thing, but it makes a difference. Nobody's throwing big checks at Dan and I to do this. So, we ask for your support in these small ways. And we really do appreciate it. We appreciate the feedback. The reviews help kind of boost the show and bring new readers in. Plus, we'll bribe you because we have Dan John's little armor building program that I sketched together, and we got Dan John's seal of approval. So if you take 2 minutes to leave a review and you email me, I'll send you that program as a thank you for being so kind. So we have a 5-star review here from Jolly Fats Weehawken. What a name that is. And he says, Pat and frequent guest Dan John, and he also puts Jim Madden in there, deliver the deep dive insights into kettlebell training that I have craved for many years. Uh, they cut right through the pop culture and keep it entertaining. Here is free access to some of the greatest strength training minds alive. What more could you want? What a very, very nice thing to say. Let's do one more by Sean Patton. He says, this has become my favorite podcast. Pat brings on high quality guests like Dan John. He also mentions Jim and Jeff and has wonderful discussions on fitness, highly entertaining and informative. So at least I'm glad to see they find that it's informative, but they even occasionally think that we can be a little bit funny and entertaining, which is
Well,
nice to hear.
yeah, and I would always hope that we would keep. I mean, the compass. I mean, I think we do good work here. I think we play. I think we're both reflective people. We certainly all respect rest here, and I think that comes out in our podcasts, which makes me very happy. Those are high praise. And don't forget, you still have those DVDs. You can send them out if you have
Yeah,
them.
we're going to be sending them out. And believe me, gentle listeners, I have a lot of them. So please, and different ones too. I thought you were just going to send me the one with you and Chip, but we got a whole collection of Dan John's material. So if you just do something, gentle listeners, share with your grandmother, your friends, leave a review. I don't care what you do. Just do something. Email me to let me know you did something. I'll put you on the honor system. I don't need you to send me receipts or pictures of everything. I trust you. And then we'll put you in the running and we're just shipping out all these goodies. So if you help us out, we've got lots of stuff to give away and really appreciate it. Okay, end of my of bribery and incentives, Dan.
No,
Let's go.
that's great stuff. Hey, two quick things, and one is so quick it just I think that's why it was a few minutes tardy. A new big study came out, and no one's going to drop their jaw on this, but the more fruits and vegetables you eat, the longer you live, the better the quality of your life. They actually had to study that.
Oh.
But one of the interesting things, I think what's good about the articles is they said that fruit juices and potatoes, which I want to put an asterisk on my beloved potato, but fruit juices and potatoes don't necessarily count in this.
Mm-hmm.
And they really push, and I tell people, I strive personally for 8 different vegetables every day, and it's to the point now that it's just mindless for me. I didn't say 8 servings. I said I eat 8 different veggies a day.
Like a carrot.
Well, if I ate a carrot, a piece of cauliflower, a single string bean, I think I would be going against the spirit of what I'm trying to say. But you know what? If that's what you have to do to make it count, by God, go ahead, go with my blessings, go happily, as we go laughingly, as we say in Turkish.
I love it. So yeah, tell us more. I haven't seen this study yet, but maybe we can link it in the show notes if you have it available.
Oh yeah, I might still. I mean, hopefully it'll be. Yeah, but when you're talking later, I will send it to you. Okay.
Perfect. Yep, we'll link it.
Yeah, and it's gonna be in my wandering weights this week, so I can just pull that off. In fact, I'll just send you the whole darn thing.
Beautiful.
The reason I find something like that interesting, first, that they had to study it. It's like when they say, there is a link between quality sleep and quality life. I'm always like, yeah, really, you studied that? Because to me, it seems like, that's, but
it seems so obvious. I
yeah,
mean, I guess it's
self-evident.
nice to get the the more qualified confirmations of what
Mhm,
is otherwise it just would seem implausible to even argue against it to begin with. But
mhm.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I mean, okay, good. I'm a smarter person now that I read that. The other thing I want to recommend is a book. I've barely broken the seal on the book, but my friend Chris Long and I have been friends of an author by the name of Bill Bryson. The two of us have shared the Bill Bryson books forever. Oddly, I didn't really leap up on this one, maybe because it's in my field a little bit, but it's called The Body by Bill Bryson.
Hmm.
And there it is, gentle listener.
Is this a new release or just a new discovery?
It's been around. It's probably been around maybe a year plus.
Okay.
But I just, sometimes you just didn't get around to it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And to be honest, my shopping habits are different this year because of some things. The other day, somebody asked me, "Hey, why aren't you doing fast mimicking diet as you used to last year?" COVID. Yeah, I don't. And of course, the response, "What do you mean by that?" Well, we were in lockdown because of our careers for a couple of months when we couldn't go outside, and we wear masks all the time, and people I know have died from this disease. So why aren't you doing that fast mimicking diet? Because I don't want to take 5 days a month and put myself under more stress. So
Right.
my book shopping habits aren't what they were a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
But the opening chapter of the book said something: suicide by lifestyle and how difficult it is. I always tell people, and I do my best on this when I talk about longevity, is that probably half of longevity is just your DNA. You're born to live longer. 10%, according to Dick Knopmeyer, is luck, and 40% is lifestyle. But here's the thing: even if you completely destroy your lifestyle, suicide by lifestyle is still very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
If you choose right now to smoke 3 packs of cigarettes a day and literally sit on a couch and watch television all day, eating sugar and fat, you still might live a very long life.
It's totally possible.
Suicide by lifestyle is very difficult to achieve, and it's the first chapter of the book. And what I liked about it, gentle listener, is that sometimes my friend Jim Marcosian, when you assume, you make an ass of you and me. And sometimes when I give workshops, I assume that most people listening understand that I'm always talking about quality of life, not quantity of life.
Mhm.
Because, hi, I'm Dan John, and I probably won't have a long life. I'm not being morbid, and I've talked about this many times, Pat. People in my family die young. This year I celebrated my mom's 40th anniversary of her death. I'm much older than my mother when she died. This year will be the 30th anniversary of my father's death. People in my family don't live long. My brother Rich is 75, and from what I know, he might be the longest living person with our last name. Um, and it's not. I'm not being morbid. I'm just, my wife's family, the Hemingways. By God, those people. My her grandmother died at 102.
Yeah.
They get into the late 90s. Even the ones that smoked, and doesn't affect them. So uh, I guess what I need to be better at, and I think this is the evolution of someone who does what we do, Pat, is that it's as much as I think I'm clear.
Mhm.
That opening chapter reminded me that I need to be clearer about
Yes.
quality versus quantity.
Sure. Sure.
This is the Pat Flynn Quality of Life
Mhm.
podcast, not necessarily the Pat Flynn Quantity of Life
Right.
podcast.
Right. Yeah. I love that. I think that's a really important distinction. And, whatever the percentages are, I don't know if I'd, go to the mat on defending a specific division, but yeah, like
Yeah,
some, uh, some of it is just here's the hand you're dealt. This is what you're born with genetically and environmentally. Some of it is maybe you just get hit by a bus that day. Yeah, and
and
that's it,
that's the
right?
luck. That's the
And
luck side.
some of it, whatever it is are the decisions you make and the actions you take and the habits you form and the dispositions you develop. And you know, even if that's just 5%, okay, all right, we have something we can work with, and I want to work with it. If it's up to 40%, all the better in terms of getting more longevity. But it's obviously hugely important for the quality of life. And I'm really glad you're emphasizing this because it just seems like such an obvious choice. Like, even if I could get away to living to 100, just sitting in front of the television all day, smoking a bunch of cigarettes, and just riddled with aches and pains and ailments, and I'm very obese. Um, why would I want to do that? Right? Like that
What's
just
your
doesn't.
why?
Yeah. Why? Right. And it even seems to me, um, all else equal, right, that maybe if I even lived 10 years less, but I was able to move really well and think very clearly, and I had
Yeah,
much more energy, and I wasn't a slave to various addictions.
mhm.
Um, that seems like a trade I'd be willing to make, right? And to be a better role model to my children, and have more virtue. So yeah, you're right. A lot of these conversations do focus on longevity, and of course, there are things you can do to help with that. But they often, but then we have these just freakish counterexamples, right? Right, of just people who just do every abusive thing you can imagine, and you cannot kill them. Like, you cannot kill these people, right? And then you have somebody who does every healthy thing you can imagine. They sneeze walking down the street, have a stroke, and that's the end of them,
Yeah,
right? So you're right that we should we should acknowledge that, okay, statistically it does help to do good things in the long run, but there are anomalies. However, the quality, the
yes.
virtue.
And it's interesting because I kind of piecing it together in my head. This article I read, it's on Yahoo. That's where I picked it up. The eating vegetables and fruits, but not fruit juice and potatoes, adds quality to your life. And but at the same time, in the balance there, the scales are sitting in front of me. Uh, I'm also want to make sure that, gentle listener, you can eat your vegetables, and your brother or sister who doesn't might outlive you. However, having said that, I think the Pat Flynn Quality of Life podcast reminds us one thing. I think you have to be careful, and Patrick, It's a phrase, and it's a logical error that gets thrown out. It's a very boomer thing, according to my daughter. My brother Gary, whom I love, does that constantly. In the last 4 years, I would say I would make a complaint politically, and he would say, "Well, FDR did. What about John F. Kennedy? What about FDR?"
Right. The old fallacy of diversion, right? The
Yeah,
whataboutisms. Uh-huh.
and whataboutism. In fact, the other day I threw it back on him. He dropped a bomb about one of my heroes, and I said, "Well, what about someone he likes?" And he didn't like that because it is an idiotic way of talking. It really is. What about is a real weak discussion point. It works because it'll work with someone like me because you know I'm thoughtful and intelligent. Uh,
And it's not always a fallacy, right? It's an informal fallacy. So oftentimes it can be, but there are relevant comparisons where it might be worth considering. But the way it's used a lot of the time is as a fallacy of diversion to distract away from a
right.
more
Well,
fundamental argument
in
or point,
his
right? Uh-huh.
in my brother's own case, the reason he survived the Vietnam War is he got sent home a couple of weeks before this massive battle where he lost many of his friends. So they all smoked. So and the reason the one young man died and not him was he got sent home earlier. And I think this is an important. I think this is an important point. So what's going to happen, gentle listener, in your life if you decide to go down the path of health, fitness, longevity, performance, fat loss, is you're going to be at a party and you're going to have an aunt, and I can almost tell you in my wife's family which aunt will say it, and my own family I can tell you exactly the aunt who would say it. They will
I'll
all
have an
bring
aunt.
up.
I'll have an uncle, right? Uh-huh.
We all have the one that, so you're weightlifting. What about, Uncle Fred? He smoked cigarettes, until he was 302 years of age and, fathered 9 kids at 109. Well, good for him. But
Yeah,
that,
God bless them, right? If
yeah,
fine, yeah, but we don't use the exceptions when we should be following the rule, right?
yes. And it falls, and when I was an administrator, one of the things I kept trying to make myself do was remind myself about why we put this rule in place and not be dictatorial about the letter of the rule. Here's why we have this rule. That would always be where I tried to start. Here's why we have the rule: eat vegetables at every meal. But what if I was on a road trip to, fill in name of, country, and I couldn't trust, okay, thanks for reminding me how great your life is and how much mine sucks. Yeah, there's always exceptions. There's always exceptions. But generally, if we're pushing ourselves to the better, you know, the, having vegetables at every meal, eating protein, drinking water. Well, I couldn't drink the water in this one place because it was, well, good for you. Okay. Outside of that 1 week where you were there, for the rest of your life, drinking water every meal is a better way to go.
Right. Yeah. So there's a very important but often overlooked lesson here, especially when it comes to fitness and nutrition, is that people will kind of base their behaviors off of exceptions rather than the rules, and what we know through the pool of evidence and the statistics, and that is, I mean, okay, you can do that if you really want. I mean, nobody's, at least at this point, forcing you to conform to the rule. But
Right.
the wise person looks at the rule, right? And I don't want to take my chances if I don't have to, right? Like maybe I'll be the exception, but what would that even do for me? So like, okay, like maybe I could, right? And like Dan, like my family is actually probably more on the side that it's impressive how difficult it is to kill them, given
Yes.
how poorly they live. So
Yes.
I have a grandfather that passed away not too long ago. He lived to a decently old age. Um, but he was in horrible health, and the last, I don't know, 20, 30ish years of his life were just riddled with ailments, ailments that could have been, perhaps if not completely prevented, at least significantly alleviated by lifestyle decisions, by not smoking, by not drinking, by getting regular exercise, right? So even if I could be the exception, I wouldn't want to be, because I don't want to be wrapped up in all those activities to begin with, because that to me just isn't what a good life is. It isn't a quality life. So I don't want to bank on being the exception anyways, because none of that stuff is attractive to me in the first place. Right.
There you go. And, my good friend Socrates one time told me something about the unexamined life. If you don't eat Brussels sprouts because when you were 7 years old, you went to your neighbor's house and then they were serving Brussels sprouts and the smell made you, the way they were cooked didn't appeal to you. And now you're in your 40s and still refuse to eat Brussels sprouts. My thought for you would be, you're still looking at your life through the lens of a 7-year-old. And it's time to, it's the unexamined life. And if you decide that you don't like vegetables because one time you saw a snail in the garden on a cucumber, you got to move along. Eat the snail. It's
Yeah.
called escargot. Enjoy it.
Do you still use the phrase "eat like an adult"? I always enjoyed that.
Oh,
Unfortunately, it can be a little confusing because a lot of adults actually eat like children these days. So it's
this is true. Gentle listener, in my book, Mass Made Simple, I have about a 2-paragraph rant on nutrition. And it's summed twice as eat like an adult. And the interesting thing is, I can no longer, a decade later, the phrase no longer works.
right. So what should it, that? I mean, that's a good. Let's explore that. Right. What in Dan John's ideal world, what does eating like an adult look like? How do we eat like an adult?
Food is not a reward. My granddaughter came home last week. I had to watch him for parent-teacher conferences. And I was with my granddaughter and she'd gotten some candy because she did something. And I thought, why are we giving kids candy as rewards for attendance or doing your homework? That's your chore as a child, to show up and do your homework. That's your job, man.
Right.
When I when I show up and perform better, Chris Poirier doesn't walk over with the
Little
with the bonbon.
Twizzlers.
Here you go. Thanks for showing up, Danny. Oh, it means so much to me. Yummy. What it means is that you have this understanding that
Wait,
food,
I just want to say one thing about that, and I'm totally with you, right? It's like, and we're like this with our kids. It's like there's just basic obligations that you fulfill because they're basic obligations.
right?
That's it. The end. Full stop. And there's nothing more for me to really say about that. And like the sooner we teach that to children, like these are your basic obligations to live a good life. And if I have to wave candy in front of your face to do that, then I am failing.
Well, yeah. I mean, yesterday I was driving around doing some chores, just weird. Sometimes you have that little weird list of you got to go to this place, that place, and this place. And I pulled over and I put gasoline in my vehicle because it needed gasoline. I wasn't rewarding the car for providing me this wonderful service of saving me tons of time by charioting me around. It's because
And did you
the
did you call
vehicle.
did you call Tiff and say I just filled up the car, have the candy ready when I get home?
Yeah, I filled up the car. Oh, what a fine young man I am. Uh, yeah, it is. You need to change your relationship. Well, you need to change your relationship all the time with just about everything. The Lenten period. One of the things I did, I've told you this before, Patrick, but when I was in the 8th grade, I gave up soda drinks. Now, there's an interesting thing about to happen here, so just follow along. I gave up soda drinks, and I never drank soda ever again until this year.
Mm.
I am drinking diet soda when I'm on a trivia team. We meet Monday night. Very good team. The owner of the bar, Dave Morris, my daughter, a bunch of close friends. We're on a trivia team. We won again
Only
last night.
one loss on your record so far. I know that
Shut
was
up. God,
tragic news last week, but
no, don't even get me started. Now, see, you had to bring it up.
mm.
Um, Basically, I stopped drinking alcohol on January 1st. So when I go to a bar now, I drink diet drinks. And the reason I drink diet drinks, first off, I'm always thirsty. If you know me, I'm always swilling something. Um, So I'm drinking diet drinks. And by the way, it's not theological. I'm giving up alcohol, and it's not because I just decided that I want to my I want to I have long-term goals that I think cutting out alcohol for a while will help me with.
Right.
And really, it's body composition goals. So,
Hmm.
so I have substituted diet drinks at bars for alcoholic drinks. That's it. I made a decision to swap one thing out for another. And if you come to my house, you're not going to find a lot of. Well, I guess we have some mixers. That wouldn't be true, but we don't really have a lot of soda drinks here at all.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't have any in our house. None. Who's
My
that? Who's that?
God only knows what my neighbor's doing today.
Mhm.
Um, Sounds like he's starting his washing machine in front of his house this morning. But the idea on this, and I don't want to be, please, if I'm moralizing, just slap me down. But the idea is that I re-examined my life and I said, well, listen, here's alcohol and it's not helping with my goal set over here and my goal set over there. Uh, why don't I swap out soda pop? But Danny, you gave it up when you were in the 8th grade. Shut up. Why don't you swap out diet soda drinks when I'm at a bar so I have a beverage in front of me so I don't look like I'm some martyr to the cause? I'm simply choosing not to drink alcohol right now and swapping it with diet drinks at bars so that I can still have a wonderful time and deal with my body composition issues.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's great. I think I've shared before that like one of my first steps in my fitness journey from going to the chubby youngster that I was giving up soda, and that was one of those seemingly little things that made a very big difference in not just my body composition, but and this is important, my dental health. I was one of those kids who got a lot of candy growing up and soda. And so I had a lot of cavities. As soon as I changed my diet, I really haven't had any cavities or dental issues. So it is amazing in that sense. And that's something I think sometimes that gets overlooked. So I would say, okay, if we're putting it away, what does it mean to eat like an adult? Well, an adult just doesn't drink soda. I'm just going to say it. Diet soda is fine. I don't even consider that like
Yeah, yeah,
the sugary beverages, right?
sure.
Especially if you're having those regularly or with every meal. That is not
Let,
something an adult does. I
let's
don't think that's
step
something
back.
children should do either.
Let's step back one more step.
Hmm.
Food is not a reward would be number one.
Sure.
If
Good.
you well, I don't say number. If we're going to go uh, that cliche 30,000 foot view thing, food is not a reward. It is something your body needs, and it is and I will agree. There's a social aspect to it,
Yeah.
but it's
So
also
it's not an award, but it can be a celebration. How about that?
there. I love it. Well, first the fast, then the
The
feast, and more
occasional
importantly,
celebrate. Yes. Uh-huh.
and so yeah. So I would say I agree with you. So anything, and I'm going to go number 3 for me is going to be try to avoid things in boxes and bags.
Hmm.
But I agree with you. Anything along the line of anything that is literally designed by people in a lab to make you crave it is something you probably should avoid. And that's candy, and that's chips. Man, if you ever want to see something disgusting, throw those damn Fritos in front of me. That's my crack cocaine, ladies and gentlemen. And everybody knows.
It's cheesy poofs for me.
Yeah, yeah.
Anything cheesy and poofy is Pat Flynn's weakness.
Soda, chips, I mean, candy. God, folks, you know all this. You literally do. I don't need to go through it. I like what you said about dental health. There's an interesting discussion on the Dan John Q&A, and several members have talked about how they avoided dental care. And when they did get some work done, they had massive infections that had been leading to all kinds of other health issues.
Hmm.
And it was a game changer. Folks, go to your dentist, go to your dentist, go to your dentist. Number 2, if you don't mind. So number 1 is the don'ts. Number 2 is the do's. I think veggies and protein and water at every meal. There you go.
Yeah, yeah, that's very good. Talk. There was another phrase that you had that I think is worth building out. The cardboard. Remember the cardboard?
I still believe in it. Cardboard carbs.
Yeah.
They are anything that comes in a bag or a box has been designed to make you eat more. One thing I read, a very interesting thing, is when the person did portion control, they decided to do the portions. It was a very good, boy, I know it's in one of my past wandering weights, but the guy decided, he's an engineer, and decided to do portion control. So he portioned out breakfast cereal, and he looked into his bowl and he went, wait, that's a portion? Because it's not a bowl of cereal. He was eating a bowl of cereal, not a portion of cereal.
Right.
And he quickly realized that he was getting in literally thousands of unseen calories a day, if you believe in the calories in, calories out model. And which, I think there's the calories in, calories out model is true for as far as it's true. We
Right.
know that if you eat 1,000 calories of Kerrygold butter, you're not going to be hungry for a long time. If you eat 1.75 Snickers bar, which is also 1,000 calories, you're going to be hungry, extraordinarily hungry, very quickly.
Right.
So it is true, calories in, calories out. It's true, but there's also, you have to put an asterisk on it.
Right. Yeah.
Go
So
ahead.
the other things you said about, you eat protein, you eat vegetables, protein consumption, very important. And, have those lean meats. Sometimes people, you hear, well, isn't meat bad for you? And the answer is no. There's been good studies on this. In fact, there was a recent study, recent review, I'll link this in the show notes, in Food Science and Nutrition, and it looked at meat and mental health. And there was a systematic review of the literature of meat abstention and depression, anxiety, and related things of that sort. And they found that depression and anxiety were more associated from people who abstained from meat. And they also looked at the relevant literature. And what they found is that when you fix for certain, characteristics of populations, what you find is the benefits that come with a vegetarian lifestyle aren't necessarily due, or even probably due, to abstaining from meat, but the other characteristics that often come with people who are health conscious. They exercise, they don't smoke. And when you separate these things out, you find that no, meat isn't the issue, right? In fact, meat comes with many benefits. So you have to be very careful. And this review is very good because it parsed through the literature, and it showed these inferences are made much too quickly, right? They're lumping too many things together. And when you make the finer distinctions, you find that not only is meat not an issue, but of course we have all the other literature on the benefits of protein intake, especially for body composition and hunger and all that. But then this one focuses on the meat abstention and its link to negative psychological outcomes. Now, I want to be careful and say that chicken, egg, like maybe one isn't causing the other. Maybe people with certain issues are drawn towards trying to find solutions in certain diets and stuff like that. So I'm not saying there's a causal link there. There might be, and I think there might be reasons to think that there might be causal influences, such as certain deficiencies, nutrient deficiencies that might come from that. But that too would be too quick. But I'll link that study in there because I thought this was a very good review that dealt away with a lot of popular myths. And it shows the importance of, again, good controls and fine distinctions, and how important that is when it comes to nutritional science.
Well, and it's interesting, Pat. I mean, no one would ever mistake me for a vegetarian or a vegan, but in the past couple of years, I made this conscious choice, and much more so now with my new. I'm trying to lean out. That's so don't. I mean, but hey, who isn't, right? When I eat at restaurants, I consciously pick the fish, the pescatarian, the vegan or vegetarian options, because not so much the last year, but in the past, I tend to eat at restaurants a lot because of my travel. So so I'm not contradicting you, I'm adding to your point.
Right.
So as someone who does eat a lot of meat, which is me, when I go out, I focus on fish and vegetarian options.
Yeah.
I did not say I was anti anything, but now that I'm not eating out as much, that little thing, my point is, I've added more vegetables to my home.
And I think that
meals.
that's brilliant, right? So I would suggest people generally, yeah, the lean proteins to fish, so rather than like the big hunks of charred fatty meat all the time, which may
Right.
have other things that we want to consider that might not be ideal. Real quick, let me just read I pulled this study up. I think these
Sure.
two paragraphs are very good. Do you mind if I just read it quick, Dan?
Absolutely. And I'll pull up that other
Yeah.
thing while you're.
So it
I'll
just
be
says, in contrast, while it is well established that the mortality of vegetarians compares positively with the general population, several reports demonstrated that there were no differences in mortality when vegetarians were compared to meat consumers with similar socio-demographic characteristics. Thus, while some studies are suggestive of a reduction in mortality associated with vegetarianism, the larger body of evidence suggests that the health benefits associated with vegetarianism may not be due to the avoidance of meat, but other lifestyle factors associated with socioeconomic status, such as adequate levels of physical activity, low alcohol and drug consumption, the avoidance of tobacco products, and so on and so forth. And that's the critical point I'm trying to draw out. One more quick quote here. Moreover, in contrast to the positive associations between health and vegetarianism, recent results suggest that individuals who abstain from meat and or other animal-based foods may suffer from nutritional deficiencies, vitamin B12, vitamin D, fatty acids, calcium, iron, zinc, with concomitant poor physical health. Furthermore, there's an emerging body of evidence that meat abstention is linked to mental disorders and poor psychological well-being. So, so it's just sometimes you hear these attacks on meat consumption and the mortality rates, but the finer distinctions are often overlooked, not drawn. And this review did a very good job of that. So I will link that in the show notes for anybody who wants to dive a little bit deeper.
That is really, really. So what, gentle listener, what you just heard was a nuanced point. Did you say meat's terrible?
No, I did not.
Did you say that meat's the answer to all questions?
No, I did not.
Oh, so basically,
and
so
neither
this
did
is
I
what
say vegetarianism was bad per se either. I did
right,
not say that.
you didn't. And this is something that I think is the most missed thing in. Oh, it's also true in strength and conditioning, isn't it?
Mhm.
Squats are the answer to all questions. Squats give you cancer. There's no middle.
Mhm.
And as I always tell people, I'm a big believer that moderation. Was at a workshop one time, and they talked about the 1%ers in every single debate. Doesn't matter what the issue is, and it was about a specific thing, but it's theological, so I don't want to get into it.
Mhm.
And the young woman talked about this radical middle of the 98% that needs to be listened to in discussions.
Yeah. Mhm.
What happens online is that there's the carnivore diet and there's vegans. Those people,
And then they always find each other, right? It's
right.
like
And the rest of us are sitting there going, so, and my point is, stop listening to the fringe. Fish, and I'm going to say fish is good for you, and then we're going to get a little post. Fish has mercury. Right. And there's nothing wrong with farm pork. Wait, what? Yeah. If you're, I've been to pigsties. Trust me,
right.
they're pigsties.
Look, friends, there is no utopia on this earth,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Life is about managing, as you say, Dan, compromises, balancing pros and cons.
Managing
Right?
compromises.
If you're
Yes,
looking for
yes.
this pristine utopia in any area of life, you are going to be looking in vain all the time, right?
Look, yeah, and finding it. Yes, and finding it. Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
Very, very good. Dan, any other further thoughts on what eating like an adult? Maybe real quickly, we could talk about exercising like an adult. I just like this idea of doing, of growing up, right? Of maturing in our understanding and approach to these disciplines. And then maybe we could turn to a few questions.
Um,
How to Eat and Exercise Like an Adult by Dan John.
when it comes to like exercise, I'm a big believer in that concept of Nassim Taleb's power law. There are times for extremely hard workouts, but the bulk of the time you want to be going for long walks with your kids and your dog. The there is a need to have a little bit of everything. I think having a meat fest when your friends come over and you go to the grill. We used to do this with the groups that would train with me. We get the barbie going. Sorry, that was stupid to say that Australian line. You get the barbecue going, and you get cook a lot of meats. Well, the next meal might be a lot of vegetables. It's okay to have fluctuations in life. It's okay to have waving of loads. I don't know, Patrick. I'm I don't know why I got frustrated, but I'm currently, you're listening to a frustrated young man. Okay, but the it's okay to eat. And by the way, it's okay to eat candy and cake. Just it can't be the basis of every single meal.
Right. I'm not like, oh, if I do this job of podcast with Dan John, I'm going to give myself a Snickers.
Yeah, exactly, my
Because I've
friend.
been a good boy.
I've been a good boy. Should we dive into our
Let's do it. That's great. We have so many programs and stuff that
sure.
I would hope that most of what we recommend is right in line with eating and exercising like an adult. So
Absolutely.
if you want a good one, we got that armor building program free of any charge except for just helping us out, leaving a review, sharing it. So we'd be happy to kick that your way if you decide to and let me be clear. I only want you to go out and leave a positive review if you feel that we deserve it. If you have any legitimate criticisms, of course, you can email me those as well, and I will promptly delete it.
Yeah, Larry Draper went to Amazon yesterday and looked at 2 negative reviews of Day's book, and she thought it was a joke because the reviews were just so stupid. I mean, 1-star reviews are just, they always crack me up. There's a wonderful thing that LitMag does is they'll go and find the 1-star reviews of like In Cold Blood, 1-star reviews of classic books, and then they do articles on the 1-star reviews. My favorite is there's one on The Sword and the Stone where as Christians, we were just so angry with his evolutionary ideas in the book, and I just looked at it and was like, man, your worldview is just so. Okay,
people just, they can come from a perspective, and it's a very fascinating psychology, right? Like if you come in looking to find something wrong with something somebody said, you'll find it, right? Or you'll invent it or something like that. And
it's like I always said about that woman, Maxine, I used to work with. She literally would look for problems.
Right.
And as I said a million times, I don't want people who find problems. Any jackass can find problems. Maxine, I'm talking about you. My wife was still stuck in Manhattan. She had watched the second plane go in on the towers on 9/11. So she was within hundreds of feet of the towers. And we couldn't get her home. So she was stuck there. And we did everything we could. There was nothing. We couldn't buy our way into answers. So it was about 6 or 7 days with my wife being locked down in New York City. And then and Maxine came in to complain about the hotel I had picked for this meeting we were going to have. And I'd just gotten off with a wife who was crying. And that's when I realized that there are people put on this planet to find problems. Folks, I want to find the people who find solutions.
Great. Absolutely great mentality. Let's see if we can help a listener find some solutions.
Sure.
Here. This comes from gentle listener Matthew Comery. And it's a long email, which is great. Lots of information. I will try to snip out the most relevant parts.
Alrighty.
So Pat says, he says, Pat, I'm a regular listener of the podcast. Love it, by the way. Wanted to reach out to see if you and Mr. Dan John might be able to answer a question or two for me. Sure. I usually don't write emails like this, so bear with me. Well, thank you, Matthew. We appreciate you entrusting your question to our care. Hopefully we won't disappoint. Okay, I've had numerous health problems starting back at the end of November. I was diagnosed with a lung infection that required resting and treatment in the whole month of December to recover from. He also got COVID. So,
well, I thought people didn't. I thought that was a myth.
And he also last week, it gets worse. He experienced heart attack symptoms and spent 3 days in the hospital. So he hasn't trained for about 3 months. He says his doctor has encouraged me to try to get back into exercising again at a slow pace due to all my recent health issues. I was wondering if there was any suggestions that you and Dan might suggest regarding a program that would meet my doctor's recommendation. I know walking is the obvious choice, but was wondering how to begin incorporating strength training movements into the program as well. I now know that a health, longevity, and GPP needs to be at the forefront of my training. I'll be turning 50 next month. I have often neglected conditioning and cardio for heart health in my training as well, and that seems to be a new priority given my circumstances. I have been chasing strength with the barbell mostly. I do have some proficiency with kettlebell and barbell movements, and am blessed to have my own basement gym with a set of 6 kettlebells from 12 to 32 kilogram, no double kettlebells, a power rack, a barbell, power block dumbbells that go up to 90, a bench, seated stationary bike, and he has a long commute every day, but has been building his basement gym slowly over the past year to let him have a place to train for 30 or so minutes a day, mostly in the evening. All right, just a little bit more info here. His local chiropractor is a kettlebell instructor and powerlifter trained by Marty Gallagher. When he's gone to see him for neck and knee issues, he has taught him the basic kettlebell movements. He also happens to be the gent that owns the barn that Marty trains, the once a week strength training club. He hasn't been able to do any Sunday training sessions due to the nature of work. He's so Matt says he's attended 2 of Marty's workshops, and he's been at Mike Krivka's gym, friend of ours. So he's comfortable with the barbell, but didn't know a prudent way to start out. He had planned to attend a Dan John workshop before the pandemic hit. Hopefully you'll attend one when the pandemic is over. Sorry for the long email. I know you and Dan like to have as much info regarding a person's training and health status. So yeah, that's it. And thank you, Matthew, very much. That information is all very helpful and pertinent. So Dan, what do we have?
Well, we're working with somebody who needs. First off, Matthew, time is going to be a thing with you. I want you to kind of mentally say, Lao Tzu, the journey of 1,000 steps, miles starts with the first step. So I want you to be at first step mentality. You are recovering from some serious things. My nephew Brian had that real rough COVID recovery where his heart rate can't go up. With your heart issues and COVID and the lung issues, I mean, I just think we need to. I mean, I'd like to see him first. I mean, I would maybe recommend a heart monitor. There's even that new there's that new thing for the eye for your phone where you put your thumbs on it and it kicks back an EKG or whatever that cardiogram one is.
And I just want to be clear right now. We are assuming based on that message that you do have your doctor's clearance to begin exercising again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even if
that weren't in the email, we would say you have to go to your doctor first.
Yeah.
We're not pretending to be medical professionals here, right?
And even with clearance, I mean, I just think, I love the fact that you have a great, your equipment is good. And you've got Krivka, you've got Gallagher, you got Pat, you're okay. You've got, where you're going, but I just, oh boy, I would want to get some walking going. If you're on medications, I would spend some, I'm guessing you might be on medications. He didn't say medications. Am I right?
I don't remember that in the email now.
Yeah. And my thought on the medications is you might want to go and look those up online and just get a sense of, some medications have these bizarre little side effects that, I'm concerned that if you decide to do something like squat and you find yourself, face planting, that's, now we have a whole new set of issues.
Yeah. Dan, what would you think about just a very basic, just easy strength for fat loss protocol here?
Well, I mean, the only problem is tension, we're asking
maybe with a lighter intensity.
Yeah. Or, maybe something as simple as, listen, I want you to get 25 reps. Okay, here you go. Push, pull, and squat. I want you to do 25 reps per workout, but I never want you to go beat red for a while. I want you to just practice the movement. So when I say up to 25 reps, if it takes you, 8 sets of 3 to get there plus one extra, that's fine. If it takes you, if you get there in 5 sets of 5, that's fine. Just get the reps in and practice the movements, and always finish every weight workout with a walk. And I would also get you thinking about meditation. I don't, not meditation for religious purposes, meditation to just turn the engines down. Um, I would look into your quality of sleep. I read a really interesting thing on the COPD masks and stuff. Your body composition, you you probably need to do some things with basic body composition changes. I'm just concerned about giving advice to someone that
Yeah,
that's coming off
you
of a
have to be
3
very
serious issues.
cautious with the intensity, is what we're saying, right?
Yeah,
Very
I just,
cautious with the intensity, right?
and the thing is, did the COVID lead to the heart issue? And I know some of our, maybe some of our listeners still don't believe in COVID. Um, I, we probably have listeners that think the Earth is flat, and
I don't.
they're going to send me pieces of information that OJ Simpson was actually on the moon. That was all faked but COVID is real. Heart issues are real. I'm just telling you, Matthew, I'm begging you, doctor's clearance, take your time. Um, if the doctor said 6 months, it's 6 months. It's not 6 days.
Mhm.
And I hate to be so reticent, but I can't help myself. I worry about you, Matt.
Right. And yeah, I think that's all exceedingly prudent.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds boring, but walking is the magic sauce, right? It really
Walking's,
is. And but the thing is, it only sounds boring. It's not actually boring. Like, one of my favorite things to do is just to go out and get a great brisk walk in, especially, now that the weather is starting to turn a little bit. Even gloomy, despondent Wisconsin is seeing some rays of sun and warming weather. So
Utah's
yeah.
kicking butt, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
look at those beautiful rays coming in. So yes, it sounds boring, but a good long brisk walk where you just clear your head, you get the sunshine, awesome for body composition, heart health, it's low stress, you feel good,
And
you
for
get to smell
relationships,
nature, right? And nature, you go with a friend, your wife. Yep.
yeah. If you're in a relationship, I was given this advice when I was a sophomore in college. We were hitchhiking up to work out at Dick Notmeyer's gym, and this guy told us that every day he takes one of his children for a walk, and just says, little Patrick, we're going for a walk. I don't want to, but he says it's weird. The kids don't want to go for the walk, but by the time they get around the block, they start talking about what's going on in school, what's going on in their life,
Pokemon, all that stuff. Yep.
whatever it is. Yeah. And then your job is to listen. What's weird about walking is, for most people I know, you're unplugged for the first time in a long time.
Right.
So
Yeah. I'm
yeah,
into
enough.
it.
We beat
Good.
this.
Hey, yeah, follow up with us, Matthew. We want to know how it goes, my friend. All right,
Yeah,
we'll squeeze one more quick one in
sure.
here, Dan. Um, let's take this one. This one comes from gentle listener Mortensen, and he says he wants our advice on how to gain or increase shoulder mobility and strength enough to do the kettlebell overhead squat.
Well, I don't know why you do the kettlebell overhead squat, but the only thing I recommend now, I mean, this comes from the Kauai study. The physical therapists I work with have all adopted this full time. Hang from a bar. You put both hands on the bar and you hang. Um, when when you can hang, generally, when you get to about 30 seconds, that's good. When you get to a minute, that's better. And then, of course, with my military guys now, I have them hang for 30 seconds and do a pull up, stay up there, hang for another 30 seconds and do a pull up. And the reports I'm getting back are, this is the best I've felt my whole life, because I was a baseball player as a child. I would say hang. The kettlebell overhead squat, I see it. To me, it's a circus trick. I understand why you do it. Just be careful.
Sure. Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you don't have to impress me.
Yeah. Good stuff. Awesome. So Dan, let's do the usual wrap up here. What do you got cooking over at Dan John University?
Well, as a favor to Larry Draper, Brian and I are taking over Wandering Weights. So my weekly newsletter now is coming out of Dan John University, not on Target Publications. I I don't think anyone will notice a difference, but it's been fun. It's been a fun transition. Larry has she's got a lot of balls in the air right now, and she was telling me the other day, she just stopped and said, this might be better, and the three of us work so well together, so that's nice. Um, Brian and I are working on a course with videos and questions, multiple choice questions,
Great.
reading comprehension with multiple choice questions. I don't know. Now, the goal of this was we were originally planning to have this done. It was interesting. It was a 2020 project, but be honest, with COVID, we had to change gears to deal with the number of subscribers that hit so high so fast that we had to focus a little bit more on the
Right.
taking
Right.
care of the needs of the subscribers, and that's of course
Yeah.
what you do. The original plan of the site was to be a place um, to get this kind of information, and it's kind of nice. We're getting back to our roots now.
Getting back to the roots. I absolutely love it. Gentle listeners, please, again, go check out Dan John University, and the offer for the armor building program is on the table for anyone who wants to leave the review. My email is patflynn@chroniclesofstrength.com. Once you put it up, iTunes and Stitcher, whatever the main podcast platform is, most people are, I think, iTunes. So just, send that over and we'll send you the program.
And speaking of, Patrick, I sent you mail, so you have that article on fruits and vegetables. Okay?
Beautiful. Well, we'll link those in the show notes. Dan
Appreciate it.
John, as always, a pleasure, and we will catch you next week.
I'm looking forward to it, my friend. We'll see you then. Okay.